You ready?
Yeah.
Okay, so today we're here with Jordi. She is a mom to one of our great MA students, and she works in pharmaceutical sales, right?
No.
Oh, all right. Well, let me redo that. That's sometimes how, isn't that just
That's what Josie
describes?
says, yeah.
Yeah.
I have worked in pharmaceutical sales.
Uh-huh.
I do something different now within the biopharmaceutical world.
Okay, so you work in the biopharmaceutical world.
Yes.
Okay, let me redo this then. Okay, hi everyone. Today we're here with Jordi. She's one of the great mothers to a student here at MA, and she works in biopharmaceuticals, and we're going to be talking to her today. So, Jordi, would you be able to tell us a little bit about your background, how, where you grew up, and then also a little bit about your job?
Sure. So, thanks for having me on the podcast. So I actually grew up on the East Coast in New York, and ended up going to college down in Florida and kind of experiencing the warm weather. I just never wanted to be in a cold weather state again. And so after college, I ended up moving to Atlanta, where I kind of had my first career actually in accounting. And well, I'm sure we'll talk about it today, but ended up moved out to California in 2006 with my husband. My husband really wanted to be in Silicon Valley, and we kind of just took a chance just moving here back then. And yeah, I never really would have thought I would be a California girl, but here I am raising two kids in California. Now we've been here in California about 18 years, which is crazy because I never would have thought that, having grown up in the East Coast.
You'd be all the way out here, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think you want to go back to cold weather. Warm weather's the best.
Yeah. Although I have to say, back in the day, there were many days where I woke up and I didn't have to go to school because it was a snow day.
And you missed that, yeah.
But I think that was nice as a kid to just, you have this big test coming up and all of a sudden you wake up and you don't have to go to school because it's a snow day. So you don't really have that out here.
Yeah,
So,
that's
I
true.
mean, sometimes you get fires.
Yeah,
but
that's
the
true.
other end.
earthquakes.
Yeah. So, what's your current role right now? Could you describe to us what your day-to-day job is? Or task?
Yeah. So I work as a field access manager for a biopharmaceutical company. It's called InsMed. And my role kind of starts when a patient and the physician decide on that the patient's going to get this medication that the company makes. I come in and I help make sure the medication gets approved for the patient. So some of these more complex specialty drugs, it can be a time-consuming process for a doctor's office. Sometimes it can take hours, days, very frustrating. But my job is to kind of come in and just make it happen really quickly to try to help the provider staff avoid all of those pitfalls that could lead to the things that could really slow down their practice. So my job is to be a subject matter expert in all the different insurance plans and what they're going to require. And at the end of the day, I'm just trying to I'm very motivated to get the medication that the patient needs in their hands as quickly as possible. So it's I feel the job that I'm in feels very rewarding because it's helping someone's health. And this medication's for a very serious disease where the medication can really help turn things around. And so every day I'm just motivated by this idea, if I can do my job well, I can get the patient this medication as quickly as possible and help and make it easier on the doctor to be able to let them, focus on other tasks and helping patients. So
Yeah, that's great.
yeah, but I kind of got to this role in a very roundabout way.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm extremely happy in my role. I feel like I'm one of the rare people that really, I love my job. And I'm not even on Friday, oh, thank God it's the weekend. It's I really enjoy it, but it's I'm looking forward to tomorrow. So I feel, and I definitely didn't plan it out this way. I feel I just got really lucky, I think, finding something that has worked so well.
And then you said that you kind of got to your role now in a roundabout way. Would you be able to tell us more about how you got into this role from out of college and how you kind of your career developed?
Yeah. So I ended up studying accounting in college, and how did I even choose accounting in the first place? Well, I really didn't know what I wanted to do at all, but my uncle Lester was like a very successful CPA, and he was kind of always looked at in the family's like, oh, you know, you want to be like Lester, like he has such a great successful career, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do, so I ended up, my parents I think encouraged me to take a high school accounting class, and my high school was like it was a public school out of New York. I probably had about 160 people in my grade, and although it was a public school, it was very like academic school. Like all the kids went to all really good schools, and I never really felt like I was like one of the smart ones in the grade. But for some reason, I took this accounting class, and all these kids that were like, you know, that I know they went to like Harvard and Yale and all these schools. For some reason, like I was really good at accounting, but I was like even like better than some of these kids that were like. So I don't know what it was. I think there was something about accounting, just the way it involves like a very logical thought process, like a lot of like if this then that. Which even in like math, that was like the one part of math I was really good at was logic. So it came really easy to me that class that I thought when I went to college I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and I had that one good experience in that accounting class, so I just kind of decided to major in accounting without really thinking about like, is this what I actually like this in an actual job? Because just because you like a certain class doesn't mean you're going to actually like the job. So so I studied accounting without putting a lot of, we can talk about that more about just kind of what I might have done differently, but I think I kind of just got into this path right away where I was doing accounting. And so when you go to college, it's pretty much after that first year, you kind of really need to decide pretty quick about what your major is to be able to make sure you take the right classes to graduate on time. So I did accounting, and it was a 5-year program in college where it was a 5-year program. It was called the 3-2 program, where you did 3 years of undergrad and 2 years of graduate school. So in 5 years, you got your bachelor's and master's. So I had a bachelor's and master's in accounting. And so after college, I got a job with Deloitte and Touche. It's like it was one of the big 5 accounting firms at the time. And I did auditing, and for some reason, like I was identified as a special project person early on, so I was working like really long hours and traveling a ton, and I did all kinds of things. I did like auditing for like chicken farms, and I had to do all kinds of crazy stuff because I was in Atlanta at the time. And I would say I just was not really loving the accounting job. I was just kind of I like definitely did not look forward to work in the morning. It was just like, and I didn't really feel like I was particularly like good at it. I didn't feel like I was like a star in my group of 30 people that I started with, and I had met my husband at the time then, who you guys know too, and I kind of saw how he changed his career by going to business school and kind of changing the direction of his career. So I kind of took a cue from him, and I saw what he had done, and so I decided to go to business school to kind of change the direction of my career. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't want to do accounting. And so I go to business school, and during business school I ended up doing an internship for Weiss, which is another pharmaceutical company, and it was kind of on a marketing team. And during that internship I got to spend a lot of time with the sales force, and I really liked what they did. I was like, that seems like a really fun job. And so after school, I was kind of offered a role to be in like a kind of a pharmaceutical rotation program, where you would do like sales for a year and then kind of move into marketing and then into brand management. It was kind of just like a rotation. But I ended up taking the job in sales, and when that first year was over, I didn't want to leave sales. I loved it. It was like a great job working in the pharmaceutical industry in sales, and I ended up doing that for a very long time. I was in sales for 15 years, but then I started to get a little bit bored of it, I think, and I was kind of a little bit starting to help some providers with some of these issues that they would have with getting medications approved, and there started to be this role that was kind of evolving as I was watching the marketplace called like field reimbursement manager, field access specialist. It's called different things at different companies because I think the market started to realize that there was these complexities in helping patients get access to medication. And I was like trying to get into it at my current company, and they hired somebody that was doing it at another company instead of like giving a chance to someone that didn't have the experience. And I ended up having a friend that had left my company that had a job at this small biopharmaceutical company, and she knew that they were going to be starting this role that we have, like kind of 10 of them across the nation. And she asked me if I'd be interested, and I was like, yeah, I'd be interested. And I was really lucky because this company just took a chance on someone that didn't have the necessarily experience. Sometimes you just need someone to give you a chance. And so, anyway, short of it is that I'm in this role now, and I've been doing it for almost 7 years. And what's really interesting is that I have found that it's almost like the role that I'm in, it takes into account, I feel like I'm using my skills from accounting, believe it or not. After all of that, it's like that there was something that was meant to be about doing the accounting, because a lot of what I do today does involve a lot of that, just thinking through things, and a lot of like, well, if this, then that, if that, then this, which was so much like accounting. And at the same time, the sales experience has come in really handy, because it's like, well, just knowing how to work with healthcare providers and knowing how to speak to them on their terms, and making sure people, how to get them to trust me and want to work with me, and that they can see me as someone of value, and also just how to get somebody to call you back, because in this type of role, in like a busy physician's office, it's like they have so many other priorities. Like, what am I going to do or say to make sure that they prioritize this particular patient in their practice? And so I just find it really interesting, because I don't think I would be as good at what I do if I hadn't had those experiences. So it's kind of like all meant to be in the end, I think, because my job is just, it's almost like a lot of like puzzle solving, and it's a lot of just communicating with people. And so I guess what I learned about that is that you just never know, and that even if you don't really like something, there's still pieces of it that you never know are going to help you down the road.
Yeah. And you were talking about how the most rewarding part of your job was how you help your patients get their medicine, which is like almost like life or death, could be a life or death situation. And so what would you say would be the most challenging part of your job?
Most challenging. I mean, that's kind of the most fun part of the job too, is the most challenging, because it's like every situation is different, but it's like it really involves a lot of thinking sometimes. And some things I always say I learned this from a previous manager that I had in sales. He would always say that thinking is working. And so you don't always need to be like on the phone or like talking to someone or like doing something specific. Sometimes you just have to take the time to think. And that doesn't mean, just because you're not out there talking to someone, that doesn't mean you're not working. And so I think taking the time to just think through the scenario, it's like, well, then if this, then that, like, well, I might say this and then they might say that. Just like, I think for me, it's like every patient, every circumstance is different. So it's challenging in that it's like, well, this is different, and you kind of have to think differently. So I would say it's challenging because each situation is unique, but I think that also makes it fun.
Yeah, that's great that you find, even the most challenging parts of your job to be something worthwhile and, makes you feel good about what you do.
Yeah.
I think you had mentioned earlier that you would have gone back and done something differently, or like you might have earlier in your career experience. If you could go back and change something, what would it be?
Well, I think I just put a lot of pressure on myself to like get the right job right out of college, and make sure I had an internship. When I think in college, I remember everybody junior year was studying abroad, and I really wanted to go abroad too, but I also felt like, I really need to do this accounting internship, otherwise I'm not going to get a great job at graduation. And I think that was silly. It was like I gave up my whole June semester. I loved my college. It was so much fun. I could have gone to like Spain or, and I think I just pressured myself into thinking I had to do this accounting internship. And look at me, I'm not even an accountant anymore. And So I think, I would have told myself, you don't like find your own path. You don't need to, watch what other people are doing. And also just like pay more attention to what you're naturally good at and what you really like. I think I kind of fell into like, well, my Uncle Lester's an accountant, so I should be an accountant, or my parents are telling me I should be an accountant. I think I did get some advice later on when I was in business school and that I did follow that I thought was a good advice for my younger self, was to start keeping an interest folder. And every time you thought something was interesting, whether that be even something you saw on TV or a conversation you had or an article you read, like keep putting into a folder. And over time you'll start to realize like, oh, okay, you really find this interesting. So I think it's hard to say like, for people to say what you're passionate about. I think that's like a difficult question.
Yeah.
But I think it's easier to say to yourself like what you find interesting, and then kind of, and it's like I think in my job right now it's like I'm like that just seems interesting, and I kind of was like watching people do it. The other thing I would say is like if you think that you do want us to do something, like if I thought I wanted to be an accountant, I would have advised my younger self to maybe spend some time shadowing a person that does that, like. Not just like ask a couple of questions, but see if your parents know someone, or like another friend's parent does it. Like, can I just spend a few hours with you? I just want to like watch and observe what you do. I think that would be a good, because I think so many of us are just we go to college and we're just supposed to like pick a major so quickly, or even start thinking about it so early, and you really just don't know.
Right. Yeah.
And so it's just interesting because it's like this path that you take. It's like I didn't know I would be doing this even like 10 years ago. But if you kind of just, I think, just keep at it and just like keep on finding things that interest you, you'll get to a place where, you'll be in a position where you really like what you do and you enjoy it. And I think that's so critical because you spend so much of your life at work. And so you really have to find something that you enjoy and it doesn't feel like work.
Yeah.
Right. And I think the more people we interview, we're kind of noticing this trend of like, I think everyone we've interviewed actually, there's no like one clear path. Like everyone's got kind of like a circular path. So it's kind of very helpful, like talking to all these people, just knowing like whatever we choose, it's just knowing that it's like probably not going to be final, like
right.
It's just,
there's so many different paths you can take.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think about this one woman at my role, she's like a much higher up than me, but she was telling me that even like one of the jobs that she always thinks about that even influences her today was, she said she was a bagger at the grocery store, and it just really just kind of even thinking about like how to like put things into the bag. She had it set up like the whole constraint of like how she thinks through things, just like organization. I was like,
interesting.
That's a good point, because I think about when I was in college, one job I had, which was a terribly boring job, but there was something I grabbed from it because it was actually proofreading accounting CPA review books. So I literally had to like go through like word by word and make sure that there was no misspellings. Because of course there wasn't like
spell check.
Yeah, it was because it was kind of like a book, so it was like copyright into the book, and I used to have to like find. And at first I was terrible. I almost got fired, and I like begged them to keep me. But like my job now also involves a lot of detail. Sometimes just like noticing, that criteria. There's something about how this is worded. Like this is problematic, or. So it's funny to think that even this like terrible job that I had, that there was some piece of it that was useful.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much. This has been a really great conversation. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sure.